So in this episode, we're going to continue the journey with Mark. So remember our friend from the messages over on Reddit. As we move from square one, which was a past episode, to realization into the psychological trap, like status signaling. I don't think it'll apply directly to everyone, but we just want to keep it in mind. This is where we think of wealthy versus workers myth. This is a self-employed survival season 19. I checked in with Mark the other week, just before the episode, and I was like, you know what, I'm doing a full dedicated season. He told me he started looking into his variable income, like a buffer, but he's feeling down. I was like, why? What's going on? Because a guy in his office pulled up in a brand new 75 plate electric Tesla. I was like, oh, yeah, mate, okay. Mark said, Zulf, how can I be winning by saving £20 when someone else is clearly flying? I feel like a failure compared to these people. And at that point, I was like, this reminds me of like, I'm going to talk to you about that in today's episode. So Mark, this is the biggest hurdle in the survival journey. You are comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's 30 plus years of like doing, or 20 years, or God knows how long they've been doing it. Or maybe their parents have just dropped my car. You never know. Today we're going to pull back the curtains on what wealth actually looks like in the UK. So I want to tell you about a meeting I had a few years ago. Remember, I'm linking all of this back to my journey to help you understand how we can navigate this. So I was sitting in the high-end coffee shop I think we were doing a fashion show and I was doing some shooting and stuff in London at that point with a potential collaborator. So like someone else who wanted fashion show photos and things done. This is going back a little while. Remember, we started as photography and I built up from there. You can check out my season 12 for my journey. So this guy looked the part. He tailored suit, like a Rolex that cost more than my full camera kit and probably my first car combined. And he kept sliding his heavy matte black metal credit card around the table. He was like, do you get custom cards these days? Have I got my phone? I've made one, but that's from my separate endeavor. He was talking about 6 figures and 6-figure months and scaling like to get the bloody moon, the way he was talking. When the bill came, it was like £15 for 2 coffees and £15.89 or £15.39 or something, and a pastry, like nothing fancy. He tapped that metal card. Guess what? I felt a bit like, oh, okay. Declined. He tried again. Declined. He laughed it off, like, saying it was it's a security block because of a new place or something. But I saw his hand shaking a bit and he was opening his banking app and I caught a glimpse of his screen. We were like sitting on those high chairs, like on the bar bit. So a bar and 2 chairs like that. If you when you sit on the window and you got a bar, if you listen to the podcast, I'm trying to explain it a bit better. Caught a glimpse of his screen. He wasn't just low on cash. He was deep into his overdraft. This was the point I realized he was performing wealth for me. But he couldn't even afford the stage he was standing on. I realized then that most of the rich people we envy are just one missed paycheck away from total disaster and collapsing. In my 18 years of working my 9 till 5 early on and then to the director, I've learned that there is a status tax. It'll keep people poor. Workers spend money to look like they've made it. Directors spend money to actually make it. I call it like the Volvo factor. Like I remember my bubble guy at the other coffee shop. And there seems to be always coffee shops, doesn't it? So the guy in the bubble Felice was driving like the old 15-year car, remember, the cheap one. And he basically had multiple auction properties he bought. If you haven't followed along, that was like in the last season. So just finishing off freedom, you don't really impress people. You own your own time. When you work for yourself, your flex isn't your car. the watch, the clothes. It's the fact that you can say no to a client because your bank account is full. Even if your car is old, you've got the choice of saying, actually, you know what, that doesn't tie in with what I want to do. I'm not going to do that. Whereas if you're going from paycheck to paycheck, you can't say no because you need the money to continue. So that's like a big ownership thing. But what does the data say? I was looking at some more data just to see, is there any way I can like explain what I'm thinking here? So it looks like the proof and evidence for Mark is going to be here. So according to Experian, the vast majority of prestige cars on UK roads are financed through PCP or HP agreements. People don't own these cars. They rent the image of success from a bank. So we have different people as we go through life. Some people like to have an exterior shell to show everybody they're successful. Others don't really care. Some just, they can't afford to buy stuff. But it's just, not everybody can be tied into this. Some people like to have nice stuff. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. But the Experian car finance statistics, that's what I was looking at. So a lot of people, prestige cars are basically, it's not theirs. But the HMRC Wealth and Assets Survey shows that truly wealthy in the UK, like the top 10%, often have their money tied up. So a lot of the money is like invisible. It's stuck in like houses or equity or pensions and not really easily like takeable. So they seem to think of it like a different way, where they'll use credit to buy credit and say, we've got money in stocks and let's use that stock investment, show that to a bank saying, I've got £500,000 in a bank account, lend me a loan, let me buy something with the loan, I don't pay taxes, and there's all loads of loopholes. So there's different ways of doing it and different mindsets. But going back to Mark, the guy Mark is jealous of isn't wealthy. He's just a high volume consumer. That's my argument there. What do you think about that? So the how-to, shifting from consumer to producer. Mark, here is how you stop being a worker and start being wealthy. I'm going to give you a couple of steps here. I put a couple of bullet points down when I was speaking and thinking about it. Identity and the status tax. Look for your outgoings, and are you paying for, let's bring it back to basics. Are you paying for any extra memberships that you don't use, subscriptions you don't use, a car you can't afford, or clothes that you brought? Because these days you can buy stuff online on like a buy now pay later scheme. I talked about that in like season 18, and it kind of puts people into debt without them realizing. So they'll put £10 down, buy like a fancy suit or a jacket, cost a couple of £100, and they'll say pay the rest over like 3 or 4 months. That's a form of credit. It's just buying now and paying later. So if that's something that you're thinking about, you bought something to impress people, you don't even like it or you don't think you need it, that's a status tax. Cancel it. Pay it off. Don't do it again. Is there a tool or a rule? Before you buy anything over, I would say in my sense, it's £50, but £100 is more realistic in today's economy. Ask, is this a toy or is it a tool? A toy entertains you for a bit. A tool earns you money. If you're in the survival phase, you're only buying tools because you need that to survive. But if you're buying stuff for the sake of buying it, how long is that happiness going to last? Have a look and build your invisible balance sheet. So start a separate savings pot. It could be tiny, or even an ISA, individual savings account, because it's tax-free. Every time you don't buy something you look rich, put that money in there. That's your freedom fund. And I remember doing this back when I was going through this phase where I saw people that were rich, that weren't really rich. I was like, you know what? I met that guy and he had a really nice watch. Because I'm in the fashion industry and doing photographs for fashion photographers, I should have a fancy watch. So I bought a fancy watch. But if I'd put that in the savings ISA account and that earned me interest, that was more of a successful move. But then would you have got some of the jobs you got with your fancy watch because people saw the watch and thought, okay, this guy's successful. I had a fancy camera, expensive camera. So it's only these people that are poor that will hire people that look rich because their appearances are, look, I'm rich. I told Mark about this guy with the metal card. Remember we talked about him? So the guy in the 75 plate, it's a Tesla. He probably stressed out of his mind about the £800 monthly payment. He paid for it monthly. But with your £20 profit from a side hustle extra sale, are you actually closer to freedom than he is? Because you own your profit. He's just like the middleman for the bank. Gets money, gives it to them. It's like just a middleman. Mark took a breath and he realized that wealthy versus workers myth is designed to keep you spending. So you never have enough to quit. It's like they want to keep you poor, basically. He stopped looking at the car park and he started looking at his own spreadsheet. Don't let someone else's debt make you feel like a failure. Wealth is what you don't see. It's the peace of mind that comes from ownership. I'd rather own a 10-year-old car and know it's entirely mine than pay for something over a long period of time. And if something happens or you get a disaster, an emergency, it's taken away. Does that look worse? You can find the links to these wealth data reports and Experian reports that I looked at in the show notes. Zulftalks.com S19, which stands for season 19. I've gone and revamped my website just to make it easy for people to access any information they want. So go there, look at the numbers and see the truth for yourself. In the next episode, we're going to talk about a superpower. I was thinking about this. I was like, what can I do? So a superpower that many people think is weakness is like ADHD and the self-employed engine. I'll show you why a busy brain is perfect tool for building a business working for yourself. I'm Zulf, and this is Self-Employed Survival Season 19. Thanks for joining me here. Be your own boss. Start working for yourself. I'll see you in the next one. What's one question you're stuck on right now? Contact me on zulftalks.com. You could drop me a message on Insta or email me there. If you want, you could even put your answer below this episode in the comment section. I read through every single one and it helps me shape the shows. It would be really good if you can leave a review wherever you're listening to this. The show resources are available at zulftalks.com. You can also sign up to the mailing list there, which will allow you to get information to help you on your journey working for yourself.
Working for yourself, I know you love it. Working for yourself, 'cause I love it too. Working for yourself, Zulf talks about it, making it easy for you. Working for yourself, go be your own boss. Working for yourself, Zulf will help you along. Working for yourself, powered by trusted creators, Zulftalks.com.